Welcome to the Matawan Aberdeen School District's regular action meeting on December 20th, 2021. Time is now 6:30 p.m. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? The New Jersey Open Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or agreed upon. In accordance with the provision of this act, the Matawan Aberdeen Regional School District Board of Education advertised this meeting on January 8th, 2021 in the Asbury Park Press and the Star Ledger. This notice was sent to the municipal clerks of the Borough of Matawan and the Township of Aberdeen and the Matawan Aberdeen Public Library. The notice was also placed on the district's website. Ms. Case, can we have roll call?
Mr. Ahern? Dr. Delaney?
Here.
Ms. Friedman?
Here.
Ms. Martinez?
Here.
Mr. Montone?
Here.
Ms. Kurzwar?
Here.
Ms. Whalen? Ms. Osborne?
Present.
Mrs. Scully?
Here. Can I get a motion and a second to accept the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes, November 8th, 2021, Executive Session, November 8th, 2021, Regular Action Meeting, November 22nd, 2021, Executive Session, November 22nd, 2021.
I'll motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Can I get a motion and a second to accept the correspondence to the board?
I'll second.
Okay. Student representatives report, Mr. Perlwin.
Hello, Matawan Board of Ed. It's a pleasure to be back here for our final meeting before the holiday break to give my monthly report on the district's 7 schools. A lot of exciting things are happening across the district as each school prepares for the holidays in its respective way. We'll start at MRHS, where the December door decorating contest is coming to a close and judging will be done tomorrow. The gym volleyball tournament is also ending and the championship game will take place this Thursday. The school drama, The Curious Savage, has been pushed back to the first week in January for showings on the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. The other major events, including the variety show and Mr. Matawan, are still scheduled for February. Tomorrow, for the first time ever, will be Matawan Student Takeover Day. Almost every teacher will be replaced by a student at the high school, and they will assume their responsibilities for the day. This is aimed at having fun and teaching students about the hard work that goes into making each day at MRHS special for the students. Finally, at the high school, Miss Kish was named Teacher of the Year, and Miss LaPlaga was named Support Specialist of the Year. Next is MAMS. There they recently honored Mr. Bloss and Miss Leach as their Teacher and Support Professional of the Year. They also collected donations of hats and gloves for the holiday season and are now collecting gift cards. They continue to get in the holiday spirit by having their 2nd annual Winter Chill painting party, as well as having a Winter Spirit Week and a band and chorus concert this week. That will be streamed on Husky Vision and the MAMS YouTube page. As for Lloyd Road, the PTO hosted their annual Winter Chill event last Thursday for students to play fun games and make memories with their friends. They also named Miss Banato as Teacher of the Year and Miss Bauer for Educational Services Professional of the Year. In January, Lloyd Road will be conducting their parent-teacher conferences. Strathmore also had parent-teacher conferences and over 300 parents were in attendance. The Cartoon Club, Coding Club, Recorder Club, and the Before School Tutorial are also up and running. Also, the students at Strathmore were thrilled about a special visit they got from U.S. Air Force Major General Contempo, who was honored at the school. At Ravine Drive, students received a visit from Matawan police officers during their recess and lunch periods. Some students were also honored for November's theme of giving. To celebrate December, students took part in a winter-inspired hat day, which raised money for families in the community in need, and this entire week is winter-themed. Last but not least, at Ravine, Miss Teixeira was named Teacher of the Year, and Miss Bouchard was named Service Professional of the Year. Next is Cliffwood, where the staff took on the Harlem Wizards in a fundraising basketball game, raising money for the playground. Principal Van Horn wants to thank MAMS for providing a place to play and the PTO for their involvement and support of the event. Finally is Cambridge Park, where students have been playing hard all month for the groceries theme. Classrooms were transformed into grocery stores and students pretended to be owners, workers, and customers. They also offered their third parent workshop, which was run by Dr. Ahern, the school's occupational therapist. I hope you all found this information adequate for this meeting, and if you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Micah?
Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'd like to call up Mr. Jarabek. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. As mentioned, I am Joe Jarabek. I'm the Lloyd Road School Principal, and I'm here this evening to share some updates on our listed building goals. These building goals are directly related to our Title I plan as well, and developed in collaboration with our staff, our Title I committee, and our Equity, Culture, and Safety committee as well. So we'll dive right into our goals here. The different slides will cover each one. And so we'll start off with equity, access, inclusiveness, and restorative practices. This, of course, links, all of these also link to our district goals. And so starting off, we have a cheerleader of this team, of our committee, and that is Ms. Giacchi, our grade 4 school counselor. And her enthusiasm is tremendous, and so she's perfect for this role of our, spearheading our culture and then the other areas as well. So in talking with our committee, we've had about 3 years of committee work and trainings on the areas of equity and inclusiveness and access. Sometimes just having a deeper understanding, talking about just being mindful of the importance of these practices, that can be most important, and that's something our committee discussed. It doesn't always have to be fancy. Sometimes keeping it simple is the most powerful. And so that's what our committee has been focusing on this year, just some general practices that we do each and every day that can go a long way. And so you look at something as basic as the poster there to kick off a year. We talk about building relationships with our students and just getting to know them, because the more we get to know our students, we know the more that we can support them. So that's a typical lesson activity that kicks off the year, is where teachers just do an activity to get to know their students, their likes, their dislikes, how they learn, and then that can go a long way throughout the year in just making that connection and understanding their needs. Moving along to our district, the district enrichment and G&T committee work that happened last year, and some of the adjustments that helped us make for this year to get more students opportunities. In the past, for G&T, students had to qualify in both reading and math. But this year, going through the committee work, it makes sense that some students might be extremely strong in math and not so strong in reading. So in the past, they might have lost that opportunity to participate in the G&T program. Now they can qualify in just one content or the other. Does not have to be both. So that's a change for this year. Of course, it took some wiggling around with our schedule, but we were able to make that happen, and so far so good with that. Another change to our enrichment program is adding the arts, and so we are set to kick off enrichment activities for music and art. We're going to be scheduling those again in January. I think our kickoff is around January 18th or so, to happen during the school day, during the students' lunch and recess period. So communication will be going out to families shortly. Another piece tied to our equity, access, and restorative and inclusive goals, the My View program, our literacy program. A big point of reviewing all of the programs that were piloted was to make sure that we have more diverse literature included in the programs, or the program that was chosen, and that is a definite for My View. There is definitely more diversity in terms of the literature students are reading each and every day. And the idea behind that is the more diversity we're exposed to, the more accepting we should be, whether it's in literature or just in life in general. Inclusion training, we'll be kicking that off in January as well, working with the Student Services Department. We will be targeting inclusion settings or teams that are not already involved in the My View training, just to make sure that we don't overwhelm staff too much with different training. So we will be kicking that off in January. Conflict resolution. We hear that term and sometimes it seems extremely simple, but the value of conflict resolution is tremendous, especially nowadays. We see that throughout the country in terms of students working on the social and emotional aspect of learning. And so conflict resolution, just being able to help sit down with students, if appropriate, to help them communicate to each other on what might be bothering them, to be able to come to a solution to the conflict or the problem that they encounter together. We have a process for staff requests, staff referrals, as well as student referrals. And many times we find that conflict resolution just naturally happens when we just sit down with kids and just have a conversation about what might have happened. And what we're finding more and more when we sit down with students, they actually ask, can we just sit down together? Can I just talk to so-and-so? And then sometimes we just sit back and they do the talking and work out what happened. and what they need to do to improve the situation going forward. Tier 1 interventions through the multi-tiered system of supports. It's another goal area this year. Noting here that we really started the year, marking period 1, focusing on the adjustments that we had for the tier 2 and 3 design. So when we talk about the tiered system of supports, we keep in mind that tier 1 is really the least amount of supports happening in the general classroom, up to tier 3, which are students that would need the most support. And so keeping that in mind going forward, we focused on tier 2 and 3 design. So we'll jump down to the reading, where we mentioned the tier 2. That's mostly in-class support, or push in, the interventionist goes in and supports really mostly in the general grade level content. And then tier 3, we have that mostly pull-out, where students will go with the interventionist to their room and work on either comprehension and or phonics through programs and the trainings the teachers have had. Going back up to the math, this is a unique design that happened this year, and give a lot of credit to our student services department and our math interventionists. They brainstormed a way to tackle students needing to remediate in basic math facts and lower level skills, but then also supporting our general content, grade level content as well. And they came up with this math lab design I'll get into more in a slide to come. So just keep that in mind. And then just noting the ultimate goal is tier 1 interventions. Tier 1 interventions really is focusing on asking ourselves, what else can we possibly do to help students that are at tier 1 that can eventually or hopefully avoid them having to move on to tier 2 or tier 3. And so that's what we're going to be tackling more and more throughout this year. That ties to RTI training that our interventionists just recently received. And RTI training is basically a portal or electronic system of tracking students. And so now we will be able to track students in a more organized way from tier 1, our general students and interventions that are happening with them, then all the way to tier 3, or also special education, because it's all housed within the same system. So it'll be more consistent and be able to view students in a more holistic way. Now, moving along to our next goal, as I've mentioned before, and we know, the district implemented the MyView literacy program. So just a little bit of background on some of the work we've done in this so far. 2 professional development days are noted here, September, October. Then we were fortunate to have a coach come in at the end of November and demonstrate a lesson for 4th grade and demonstrate a lesson for 5th grade. And jumping down to the takeaways, we were able to then build into the schedule for the day a debriefing session with the coach and just talk through the lesson. And what we found is nothing fascinating, right? And again, sometimes I say simple is better. And so talking through with the coach, naturally we find teachers are worried that, am I doing it correctly, especially a new program? And what we found is that teachers are right on target. They're doing a fantastic job. And not to worry so much because they are doing a great job. And we talked through that with Dr. Rawls in the debriefing session. So takeaways, really talking about there's so many resources. We don't have to feel like we have to fit it all in. Let's focus in on maybe the resources and the blocks of time that are most powerful for students. So we talked about that. Slowing the pace, don't worry about trying to get it all in. It's okay to go slower, right? And that's the quality over the quantity of the instruction. Rigor. When we have assessments, sometimes we see with new programs, grades might be lower than expected or that we were used to. But when we keep in mind, if we are implementing a program that's more rigorous, that might naturally happen. And so that, I think, ties into establishing the consistent routines from the lower elementary all the way to Lloyd Road. We noticed that with the previous program we had, in particular with writing. When we implemented a new program and it was more rigorous for writing, grades dropped. But instead of lowering our expectations, we kept them high. And we noticed that eventually students rose to our expectations and their writing started to improve. And so we expect the same thing to happen with the MyView program. Because the extra time we're spending now on establishing those routines and structures, the students are going to be coming up in future years already knowing those. So that means the pace will naturally quicken and the learning will improve. Again, that's the ultimate goal. Collaboration, that's key. That ties directly back to the top where it mentions 2 staff per grade level or helping plan future units. So Dr. Rawls was able to structure out for lower elementary, but then as well as for 4th and 5th grade, that we have 2 teachers per grade level that are freed up during the day, usually one day or 2 days every 2 or 3 months. We just started this, and they are taking on the task of planning out future units. Because the planning in itself can be overwhelming for everyone, and so they're taking that lead, and then they will turnkey that to the rest of the grade level. So we're in the process of working that out. That's a huge help, and should improve not just the planning, but then the instruction. Math fact mastery. This was identified as an area of high need to get the students a foundation in basic math facts through analyzing data, in particular iReady data. And so again, our math team, all of our math team teachers and our interventionists came up with, they were charged with coming up with a design to really focus in on this as a building. And so they came up with consistent check-ins or assessments or quizzes, however we'd like to call them, where students take a challenge. And they have a certain number of questions they need to get right in a certain amount of time. And then it becomes a challenge for them to beat themselves to work their way to mastery. And we do see a lot of students get excited about, okay, I might have gotten 10 right this week, and then the next time I take it, I want to get 12 right, and work our way up to mastery. That's just general goal setting. And so that's something, again, seems simple, but it's extremely effective. And the math team just met, I think it was last week, and finalized, we're going to look, again, something simple, but talking about an organized system of recognition. And so what we came up with is kids love to hear their names announced. So when they hit that mastery level, we're going to be announcing their names in morning announcements as a master of their math facts. And then we're going to create a recognition board directly outside the cafeteria starting in January so that students then see their own names on the mastery wall. And so when a student does master their math facts, they can come down to the office, get a label with their name on it, and go post it to the board themselves. Again, simple, but effective. We've seen that with Students of the Month as well, where students just love to hear their names announced for Students of the Month, and this we expect to be the same. I talked about the Intervention Math Lab before quickly. The design of that is for the first, let's say roughly a 40-minute period, the first 20 minutes, students are pulled out to the math lab, that the interventionist called it. And they did a fantastic job, the math interventionists, designing this in having the students do some small group targeted instruction with them on the skills that they need to remediate, but then also to reinforce it through some games. And visiting the math lab is really cool. It's just a unique design that they have with flexible seating. The kids really just enjoy to go to the math lab. And then for the next 20 minutes, roughly, or 15 minutes of that period, the interventionists push into the general classroom and support the kids on the general content curriculum. So there's a balance of the lower level emphasis of skills, but then also supporting the general content, grade level content. Other Lloyd Road happenings that are supporting our students and other practices we have here at Lloyd Road for our students. After school clubs. Again, a lot of the schools at this age don't have as many extracurricular opportunities for our students. So we're thrilled for the support to continue these each and every year. 10 clubs up and running after school. And every student that signed up for a club, we do restrict it to 1 student per club usually, just to make sure that we have enough seats for everyone. And so any student who did sign up was able to participate. We do have our after-school tutorial, Title I reading and math tutorial that targets our Tier 3 students, the students most in need. We're looking to expand that more in the new year to get more students involved in that program. Then we also continue our homework program after school for grade 4 and 5. And moving along, this next program, we implemented at the end of last year, kindness tickets, simple red raffle tickets. All right, again, something so simple, and we've heard it before, caught being kind, and how this was beyond my expectations. I didn't think, I have to admit, that 4th and 5th graders would buy into it so much. But to see how thrilled a lot of the students are to get a red ticket when they do something kind or a positive act, and then to come into the office and turn that into a caught being kind clear bin has been tremendous. So we started last spring, got feedback from teachers, and they said, let's keep doing it. The kids are enjoying it. And the neatest thing that I like is having the students come into the office and either I or assistant principal or anyone that's in there, including the secretaries, ask, what did you do? And then to see the students' pride in sharing what act they did, that's what it's all about. So even though at the end of the week we pull usually 6 tickets, and then they can come in and choose from our prize box, even if they don't get their name chosen, just the pride that they have in coming in is really what it's all about. Mentoring program, we continue that, where some staff sign up to mentor students and really just make those personal connections with kids. Morning meetings, again, a simple term, but the power behind that, even for us, when we come into work, a lot of times you're just tired to start your day, and to dive right in can be exhausting. Similar to kids, so just to come in and be able to have conversations to start the day, again, extremely powerful, and just gets kids in the right mindset to then dive into the academics. And classroom guidance lessons, again, nothing extremely fancy, but very powerful. So the guidance counselors have set themes, whether it's character education, social skills, decision making, which is huge, the conflict resolution, but then when we see something popping up in a classroom that might be specific to that class, certain conflicts, then the teachers can request the guidance counselor go in and target those needs of the class and just have a discussion with them. Again, extremely powerful. To end our updates for Lloyd Road on this tremendous event, something we're very proud of, this is through our Title I program, and Mrs. Caleo is our Title I coordinator, and she and a few staff members, I shouldn't say a few, but quite a few staff members volunteered to help turn Lloyd Road into a camp out to emphasize just the love of reading. And so they organized the evening. We had to move it from the cafeteria as the base to the gym because we had over 200 students, siblings, and family members sign up. We had to close it because it's of capacity. And then they cycled throughout the building just to emphasize reading, the love of reading, whether it was flashlight reading in the one picture, Mr. Levine singing campfire songs with our families, with a bookmark making event in our art room, and so on. You can see the other pictures. Again, that was a great night. And then our next family night, as noted, is February 9th, and that theme is Family Game Night, which also emphasizes math and reading, but through games, where families can come together, play games, but at the same time, not even realizing you're emphasizing academics. So this closes out my building goal updates for Lloyd Road School up to this point of the year. If there's any questions, or I am done.
Thank you, Mr. General.
Thank you.
Great job, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Liebman.
Thank you, Dr. Micah. Annually, the district is required to complete a self-assessment on HIB practices and procedures. Each of the 7 buildings completes a draft of the assessment. We tabulate the data and report the draft scores to the Department of Education. The results are published and made public in late spring, early summer. This is the self-assessment for the 2020-2021 school year. The purpose of this report tonight is to share with the board that the required steps in the self-assessment are complete at the building levels and at the district level, and we're ready to submit our draft scores to the Department of Ed. We will share a follow-up with the board once final scores are released later this year. At that point, we'll go into details on category scores, final overall assessment grade, and any recommendations if necessary. That concludes the HIB review.
Thank you, Mr. Liebman. With that, we'll move to the board president's report. First, I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Jarabek. It's great hearing about everything happening at the schools and what the students are involved in. Especially excited to hear that the G&T, the revised program, is up and running. Specifically the music and arts, I'm curious to see how that goes. I'm very excited that that's a new piece that we're exploring moving forward. Next, I wanted to take a minute to acknowledge the hard work, dedication, time, and effort that 2 of our outgoing board members have put into the board, Ms. Przwara and Ms. Welland, who can't be here tonight. We just wanted to thank you for all your service to the students, to the staff, the entire district and school community. And with that, we'd like to present you with the plaque.
Sweet, thank you.
And we hope you continue to be actively involved, especially in the strategic planning and as a voice as a community member.
Absolutely, thank you so much.
With that, a few updates for tonight. As mentioned in Dr. Micah's community letter a little over a week ago, we've seen an uptick in the amount of positive COVID cases within the state as well as within our district over the past several weeks. We just want to assure everyone that our goal continues to be keeping students safely learning in the classroom full time. And we really do appreciate the entire school community's efforts to make this happen so far. We're going to continue to make sure that we have the appropriate safety measures in place. Our COVID dashboard is up and running and has been updated. We just want to ask that we all continue to work together to keep this going. And the other point that I just wanted to stress too is when it comes to the virtual learning piece, if your child is out for quarantining or COVID-19 concerns, please just reach out to your building principal because they can help offer guidance to you. District Strategic Planning Conference Weekend is going to take place January 21st and 22nd. You can still sign up on the district's website. Kindergarten registration for the 2022 and 2023 school year for students not currently enrolled in the district preschool is open. And with that, we'd like to wish everyone a very happy and healthy holiday, and we'll move to curriculum and instruction. Mr. Bombardier?
Good evening. Part A, Curriculum Instruction Travel. We have one staff member attending the Regional Professional Development Academy, managing anxiety in our schools and our classrooms. That's at no cost to the district as part of our membership. 2 staff members attending the MCVSD program presentation at no cost to the district. 5 staff members attending the National Association of School Administrators Texpo Conference. We have 1 staff member attending the WIDA workshop, planning with WIDA ELD standards for supporting ESL students. 1 staff member attending the PCAST and Introduction to PCAST and Implementation for Families and Professionals workshop, and 2 staff members attending the New Jersey Principals and Supervisors NJASCP conference. Moving on to Part B, we have 1 item on the agenda. It is to approve the submission of the American Rescue Plan and Secondary School Emergency Relief as part of the ARP grant. Each school district must create a safe return to school plan, and that plan must be updated every 6 months, and we are up at the 6-month update for our safe return plan, so we're asking for approval on that plan. And that is all for curriculum instruction.
Thank you. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
All motion. I'll second.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay. Student Services, Ms. Perez.
Good evening, everyone. Under item number 1 for student services, there's a revision for the board to approve the following agreement with Rabinowitz Education Center. It was originally approved on November 22nd with the effective dates of November 22nd, and we needed to update the dates to effective November 15th through June 30th of 2022. Under item number 2, we're asking for board approval for the following bedside instruction for the following student as listed with the cost and its effective dates. Under item number 3, we're asking board approval for a student to attend an out-of-district placement for the 21-22 school year. Please note that this is a change of placement. This was previously budgeted for. Under item number 4, we're asking for board approval for the tuition rebill for the 2021 school year for Hawkswood School for the students listed, along with the cost and its effective dates for the school year of 2020-2021. Under item number 5, we're asking for board approval for the following provider to provide translation services at the cost listed per hour, effective December 20th through the end of the year, June 30th of 2022. The cost not to exceed $500. That concludes student services.
Thank you. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
All motion. I'll second.
Any questions or comments from the board? No. Okay. Personnel, Mr. Liebman?
Thank you. Under Personnel, Section A, resignations and retirements, we have 3 staff members listed, 2 resignations, 1 retirement. In this case, I would just like to make a change read into the minutes for Flo Georgalis. The retirement effective date should be May 31st, 2022, rather than the 30th, so May 31st. Under Section B, leave of absences for the 21-22 school year, 2 staff members is listed with their effective dates and reasons. Section C, appointments, number 1, new hires for the 21-22 school year, 2 staff members listed with their location and effective dates. Item number 2, under extracurricular activities for the 21-22 school year, under hourly activities, 3 staff members are listed with their hourly rates and their program. Item 3, C&I Thought Partners for the 21-22 school year, 2 staff members are listed. Item number 4, curriculum instruction for federal title grants for the 21-22 school year, 2 staff members are listed on the bottom of page 2. Item number 5, C&I academic support for ESSER funds for the 21-22 school year. 3 staff members are listed along with substitute teachers at Ravine and then a substitute teacher for Strathmore. Item number 6, college student teacher observers and interns for the 21-22 school year. 5 interns are listed and their locations. This is for the spring semester. Item number 7, volunteers for the 21-22 school year. 3 staff members listed with the activities that they're volunteering for. Item number 8, under substitutes for the 21-22 school year, 1 staff member listed, an instructional assistant who has a substitute teacher certificate. Item number 9, staff rate changes for the 21-22 school year. Staff members are listed with their respective overloads and assignments and effective dates. There's one change to this under Mary Vaganti. The overload that reads 0.33 should actually be 0.17. Item number 10, home instruction for 21-22 school year. 1 student as listed. The required courses are listed on the bottom of 4 and on the top of page 505 for that student. Item number D, other HIB report. This is the HIB report from the previous board meeting. Item number 2 is a district self-assessment review that I presented to the board a few moments ago. Item 3 is a job description for supervisor of O&M and energy specialist. Item number 4, there's a new extracurricular club for the 21-22 school year with the rationale as explained. And item number 5, extra hour compensation for 1 staff member as listed with a per diem rate. That concludes the personnel agenda.
Thank you. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
I'll motion.
I'll second. Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? No? Okay, moving on to policy. Mr. Lieben?
Thank you. We recommend to the board for first read the following policies and regulations, including policy and regulation 1642, policy and regulation 2422, policy 7243, policy and regulation 7440, policy 7450, policy and regulation 8220, policy and regulation 8320, policy 8420, policy 8462, policy and regulation 8630, policy 8670. I would like to remind the board for policy 2422, this is comprehensive health and physical education. This was a policy that was on the agenda back in October for a first read. At the board's request, it was tabled for further discussion and edits by the board. The first read draft for the board currently has input from Strauss-Esme. So in the board's copy, the text that's in red, that's Strauss-Esme's input for the current editions. There's board input and admin input that's listed as blue text. So when you're taking a look at the first draft of the policy, you'll notice the current policy and then plus additions that have been listed by input by both groups. If there's any further details or edits that we want to make to this particular policy, if there's anything discussed tonight, just make sure that gets emailed to me and I can include that for a second read. And I would just like to remind everyone, the board and the public, that if anybody's interested in looking at second read policies before they're approved by the board, if you go onto the district website, under the Board of Ed, there's second read draft of policies, and you can read all second read policies before they're approved at whatever board meeting is coming up. So in this particular case, second reading and adoption should be at the January 10th, 2022 meeting. That concludes policy.
Can I get a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
I'll motion. I'll second.
Okay. And then before we move into board questions and comments, just wanted to, I know, on wanted to say something on the policy 2422, which is the comprehensive health and physical education policy. I know there has been discussion out there about that. We did table, as Mr. Liebman said, we tabled this policy back in October so that we could really give it more attention and dive in deep and see, what the state learning standards are, the new learning standards. As a parent, I can tell you I had some initial concerns on some of the information, some of the timing in terms of when things are being shared. What did help me feel more comfortable is I did further research, look at the guidelines, the learning standards, and understand the intent of promoting safety, health, and inclusiveness. Just something we thought might be important to share. I know it's still a first read, but just what the intent of the policy is to ensure that all of the MARSD community is taught in an environment where the uniqueness of each and every student is recognized and can be seen in the curriculum taught, with the goal of every student to be safe and understanding of themselves and others. The Board of Education requires all students to participate in a comprehensive sequential health and physical education program aligned with the learning standards that emphasize the natural interdisciplinary connection between wellness, health, and physical education. The primary focus is the development of knowledge and skills that influence healthy behaviors within the context of self, family, school, and the local and global community. So that being said, also, I just wanted to make you aware for those that aren't, we will be developing curriculum guides, actually the staff will be, and those will be submitted for approval. And that's really where we can help further evaluate what's being taught, what the curriculum will look like, and tailor it to meet our district's needs. Staff will be provided with professional development so that it's taught appropriately at each age level. And also, just wanted to say to keep in mind that the staff that's developing the curriculum guides as well as teaching the curriculum is people that we trust every day with our children. Lastly, as stated, I know we've said this before, but there will be an opt-out option. So parents and guardians can choose to opt their children out if they wish to do so. We will need to be clear on when curriculum is being taught. And I think that was it on that. So wanted to open that up to the board if any other questions, comments?
Mrs. Foley?
Yes?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your commenting. There are some things in that policy that I, as a parent, am not really confident about, so I look forward to discussing this later. But the opt-out, and I had spoke to Dr. Micah, the opt-out is important if people choose to not want their children involved. I feel better about that. And I just ask that we have time to really go through it as it comes down by piece. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to just acknowledge when I think I had moved to table this back in October because I had seen some of the concern about it. I had my own concern about it. I know that the board has had access to it since then, and I appreciate the administration allowing us to take a long look at this policy and to incorporate our edits within it. It is something that I know some of us have been able to comment on and have been able to tweak to better fit our district. And I think the intent of it shows where we're going, but I certainly understand and share some of the concern that parents have, seeing how other districts rushed and put it out in a very quick fashion without consideration to that. I don't know if it's possible, but I thought it would be interesting if we had the equity team, our students, look at the policy or the intent of it and to see what they thought it had or did not have and what it could use. I know that's sort of an unusual thing, but I did think that would be an interesting facet. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just like the idea of having access to the curriculum ahead of time, so that kind of is another piece of it that I think is a very important part.
If there's nothing else, we'll move to finance. Ms. Case?
Good evening. We'll be taking action on the following items. The finance report, we'll be paying payroll for the month of November as well as the bills list for the month of December. transfer of fund status for the month of October, as well as the board secretary's report for the month of October. We'll do competitive contracting to go out to bid for new student information systems, as well as student transportation software. 6 and 7 will be the submission of amendments for our ESSA grants, as well as our ESSER 2, just to ensure we utilize all the funding before the end of the year. 8 will be the sale and disposal of the asset for bus 58 that needs to come out of service. 9 will be awarding the transportation route renewals for the following routes listed. And 10 will be the fire and evacuation drills for the month of November.
Thank you. Can I get a motion as second to approve the agenda?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments from the board? No? Okay, that brings us to public comments. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on matters of interest to the school community. Individuals wishing to speak must state their name and address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes duration, but an individual may speak a second time after all others who wish to speak on the topic have been heard. All statements should be directed to the board president, and no participant may address or question board members individually. All speakers are requested to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy of others whose legal rights may be affected. Please note, while it is not the board's intention to stifle comment on matters of legitimate concern, the public should be aware that if their statements violate the rights of others under the law of defamation or invasion of privacy, they may face personal liability to the injured party. If speakers are uncertain of the legal ramifications of their comments, the board urges them to seek guidance beforehand from their own legal advisor.